Have you ever felt like this standard script for a successful life just doesn't quite fit? Like the path everyone tells you to follow feels, well, a little incomplete? We tend to think of ancient myths as just simple fireside stories, but they are so much more than that. They're psychological maps, they're blueprints for how to navigate the absolute chaos of being human. For decades, we've been absolutely captivated by one particular map, the hero's journey. You know the one, the lone champion leaves home, slays some kind of dragon, and comes back with a prize. But what if that's just one story out of thousands? What if there are other, equally powerful paths to transformation that speak to different kinds of lives, and frankly, different ways of being in the world?
I mean, let's be honest. In our modern, kind of fragmented world, a lot of us feel alienated from the main stories our culture tells us. And when that one-size-fits-all story doesn't reflect your reality, your culture, your identity, your struggles, it can leave you feeling completely lost. We need a wider set of maps. We need stories that honor journeys of community, of psychological rupture, of spiritual crisis, not just heroic conquest.
So, where do we even begin to find these other maps? Well, the brilliant thing is, they all spring from the very same place, the universal structures of the human mind. The amazing mythologist Joseph Campbell argued that the building blocks for every single story we've ever told are already wired right into us. To get where these stories come from, we got to look at a couple of key ideas about the mind. So you had Freud, who focused on what he called the personal unconscious, basically all our own suppressed memories and experiences. But his student, Carl Jung, he proposed something much, much deeper. He called it the collective unconscious, a shared inherited reservoir of universal images he called archetypes. You can think of it as the psychic inheritance of all humankind. Campbell took this idea and really grounded it in biology. He pointed to this concept of the innate releasing mechanism, or IRM. Okay, picture a newly hatched sea turtle. Nobody teaches it to scramble towards the ocean, right? Yet it knows exactly where to go and what to do. That instinct, that's an IRM. Campbell basically suggested that our response to Jung's archetypes works like a psychological IRM. We're sort of pre-programmed to react to the hero, the trickster, the great mother. It's like the biological hardware for myth itself. And this right here gets to the absolute core of the idea. The motifs, the archetypes, the IRMs, they're universal. The fear of the dark, the bond with a parent, the cycle of death and rebirth, we all have that. But how those motifs are woven together into a story, into a myth, that is totally shaped by local culture and very specific needs. It's like we all have the same box of Legos, but we build vastly different things depending on where we are. So, with that in mind, let's look at two of the most fundamental structures, two primal paths that emerge from this universal blueprint. They represent two profoundly different ways of relating to the world. We're talking about the way of the shaman and the way of the priest. This table really breaks it down nicely. Okay, so for the shaman, power comes from a personal crisis, a direct, unfiltered vision. But for the priest, it's from social initiation, an office that's inherited. Because of that, the shaman's whole role is about individual transformation, while the priest's job is to maintain cosmic and social order. This means the shaman's journey is deeply psychological and inward, while the priest is ceremonial and outward, all about aligning the community with the heavens. So just to be crystal clear, the shaman's journey is not some fun quest to find a holy grail out there. It's a psychological implosion. It's a complete break that forces a direct encounter with the raw, untamed archetypes of that collective unconscious we were talking about. It's a path of really profound personal rupture, of being torn apart, and ultimately a hard-won rebirth. And this isn't some new age invention, not at all. This path is ancient. I mean, its roots stretch way back into the deepest parts of the human story, into the painted caves of the Paleolithic era. Just look at this incredible figure. This is the so-called sorcerer from the Trois Frères cave in France, and it's dated to around 13,000 BC. I mean, look closely. It has the antlers of a stag, the eyes of an owl, the beard of a man, and the body of a lion. It's not one thing, but many. And that is the absolute essence of the shaman, a figure who crosses the boundaries between human and animal, conscious and unconscious, life and death. This is a direct portrait of that kind of consciousness. The process of actually becoming a shaman is an ordeal. It starts with a spontaneous, often terrifying psychological crisis that's filled with visions. This is then followed by a symbolic experience of being completely dismembered and put back together again by spirit helpers. It's only then, through this trial by fire, that the shaman masters the arts of trance and song and dedicates their life to a kind of magical service for their community. So why does any of this matter to us right here, right now? Well, it matters because these ancient paths offer incredibly powerful alternatives for finding our footing in a world that, let's face it, often feels like it has no foundation at all. For anyone whose life experience just doesn't fit that neat, linear hero's journey, I'm thinking of Indigenous, Black, queer, and so many other communities who have navigated these long histories of rupture and transformation, the shaman's path can be a deeply, deeply resonant map. It validates a journey through chaos to find wisdom, rather than a journey to just conquer chaos from the outside. That focus on inner transformation and on communal healing is such a profound alternative to a story of individual conquest. The key here is to stop seeing mythology as just a set of outdated, unbelievable stories. It's not about history. It's not about literal fact. You should think of it as a kind of technology, a practical, psychological toolkit for understanding ourselves and navigating the really critical thresholds of our lives. From childhood to adulthood, from crisis to renewal. Look, the stories of the priest and the ordered world, they have their own power, for sure. But if you find yourself in the wilderness, in a period of rupture or transformation, you need to know that there are other, older maps to guide you. The path of the shaman teaches us that sometimes the greatest wisdom is found not by slaying the dragon, but by allowing yourself to be taken apart and then remade. So the question is, which path speaks to you?